Welcome to SFG Top Performance. Today we have myself and Jason. We're the only two here. We're going to have a shorter version today. We'll talk about some of the short things we've seen so far this fall and get this wrapped up so everybody can get back to doing what they were doing. What are you seeing out there, Jason?
Well, it's early in the harvest here, but we're seeing some really good results from the corn that's been taken out especially. We took our test plot out September 15th, Wednesday there, and we had really good results. We'll pop them up here and let you see them. And as you can see, one of the decal numbers was a little bit on the lower side, but it's for a tough acre. You know, it's supposed to do 230, 240 at the top, and it's 255, so that's pretty incredible for a tough acre corn in a competitive world. And then the top of it was 116-day corn, which should yield good, and it was at 294 in our plot. And then the balance was 265 to 280, so that's pretty, you know, as you look across the plot, pretty good. You know, call that very uniform. So our results were incredible. That was it was 816 foot long, so it wasn't a little 30, 40 foot plot check. It was 800, about a quarter mile, or it was a very good plot results in 6 rows. So it was good.
How was the moisture on it? Was it getting fairly dry or still pretty wet?
It was wet. We were in that 24, 27, 29, and the graph there will show us what, you can look exactly what numbers everything was. But for the time, you know, it was pretty dry. You know, that was a couple weeks ago now, and really, really good. The corn looked good. You could tell. We looked at that plot in June, and I wouldn't have given a nickel for the plot. It was pineappled. You know, the corn didn't look good. It was dry, and it had some moisture stress. You could tell that early it had been wet spots. There was this heart of the plot had a really wet spot in it early, and then we got that dry spell, and it looked bad when we looked at it about the time it was ready to determine its girth. So, you know, yes, it had some stress and still yielded incredible. I've been on a lot of combine rides as well in the last couple of weeks or a week and a half here, and corn's yielding really well. A lot of guys don't want me to tell the yield, but most of it's north of 200 by a long ways. And there are a few products that I think are working really good compared to some neighbors. Number one, a good fertilizer program. We've talked about fertilizer and micros and everything all along, and that's definitely working. We haven't got into a lot of our trial plots, but the fertilizer and the micros and sulfur, that half rate of Super Grow or AMS applied over the top is really, looks like it's doing a phenomenal job. And the fungicide or a good disease package on the corn. So one of the two, like we've preached all along, those are really out yielding the neighbors. We're definitely in a garden spot here, though. I've talked to some people not far away, and they're south of 200, just as far as we're north of it. So,
yeah, they say you don't have to go very far north or very far south, and it drops off either way. So, pretty fortunate in our area.
Yep. I haven't been in a lot of beans yet. Charles, you've been on more beans than I have. Right around the office.
We've been doing some 2.8 beans and some early 3s, and like I say, there's been really good yields. Fungicides everywhere. We've put fungicide trial-wise. You can tell a little bump there, but we haven't done like the heart of the trials yet. But it's just starting on those. But man, it's definitely doing better than what most people expected. It's just everybody wants to know where the beans are coming from, and the corn too. So,
yep. So, yeah, you know, we're finding really good things with the corn and the soybeans, and on our forages and our hay, we're finding some things that aren't so well. I know a couple weeks ago I got a call. Have you seen armyworms yet? And fall armyworms? No, I've never heard of a fall armyworm this time of year in our alfalfa and forages in this area. I know they're around, but they come up from southern Florida and the South Americas is what the reports are on the hurricanes. So, you know, I know when I first went out to look, I found a few, and I was like, oh, I don't know what kind of damage they'll do. But within 3 days, they're taking out entire alfalfa fields and defoliating them. We'll pop up a picture of what an alfalfa field looks like and what the worms look like, and you can kind of see that all that's left is a stick. And, you know, some of these, I called Charles and asked if he could spray some, and I think he thought, what are you talking about? We shouldn't spray this time of year. So.
Yeah, we thought we'd be doing some burn down spraying for CRP burn down, but no, here we are out spraying bugs still. And of course, once you find them, you can't just say, oh, I'll get it the next day or two. You got to jump right on it, or like you said, overnight you can tell the difference between night and day between how much damage they've done out there. Yes. So it looks like we're winding down on that. Are they starting to slow down? that rain, we had a little bit of shower there. Could you tell any difference there where it slowed them down any, or
I think the shower and the cooler nights has definitely slowed them down.
is it?
In the mornings, I'm not seeing many. It's cool as it's been at night, so hopefully it slows them down so we don't have to worry about them as much. But another thing that I didn't think about even was these cereal grain crops that are starting to show up, and we had some oats and orchard grass that was planted in early August, and it's terrible in them. It's defoliating them just as fast as it did the alfalfa. And I have a picture here of some hanging on some orchard and oats that, as you can see, there's multiple ones hanging in that area. I think there's 6 or 8 in a small area. So.
It's pretty bad when you just look at a small, you just stand there and look for a second and you just start moving on. You're like, oh, and you just start counting and they're everywhere.
And on these, the threshold's 2 to 3 per square foot. And I know there's been some that I quit counting at 42 per square foot in one field, and there was substantially more. So I don't know how many were actually there, but I'm guessing 65 to 70. They're reading so much and so fast, it needed sprayed. So I quit counting. And they're impossible to count. There's so many, and there's so many different sizes when you get to that point. So, and pretty much the options are to cut it for hay, which, we're getting late enough, it's kind of late to cut it for hay for regrowth, to spray them, or watch the worms eat your hay.
Yep.
And that's our 3 options with it right now. Oops.
Nope.
Charles, we're, enough about the bugs, and back to the harvest again. The facilities and everything, is everything we up and running? And
Most facilities are running except Milo. Milo is, we're not waiting, we got parts, but we're assembling, if you want to say. The dry conveyor is probably a week away from being done. Within a week from today, it should be operational, probably, hopefully quicker. They do have all the parts on the site, so it's just a matter of getting it put together. There's some other projects we were going to do there, but it's just not going to happen this year. We're going to put a leg up outside and speed it up outside, have a different pit. It's just couldn't get parts, so we had to cut it down and just use the old. It'll still work fine. It'll got a 500 bushel pit. It'll dump 5,000 bushel an hour in the inside, so that's quicker than it was last year. So it isn't what we want, but it beats the heck out of a 5-gallon bucket and dragging it up there. But anyway, that'll looks like everybody's switching to bean. There's a few in that area. It seems like the beans are a little later groups, aren't they? They're not quite ready, but so there'll still be some beans start coming in. But looks like in the next week, 10 days, there's no rain in the forecast, so guys will just go. And other elevator wise, everything's they're operating. The scale, we're still waiting on the scale to show up down at Centerville. Hopefully here in the next week he'll have a scale show up. They're using the old scale by the office, and then they'll have a new scale out to the south of the office. It's just trying to make it better, and it's not here yet. So everything's ready, you just need the platform. And anyway, it'd be 2 weeks once it shows up before it's operational. Other work wise, we're in the process of doing lime. Of course, as fields are getting combined, we're turning in grid samples. So that takes a week to 10 days once you turn it in before you get the results. We're going to go back out and spread lime next week. There's guys that are getting fields opened up, so things are getting going, and we have a little dry fertilizer to spread, but we're ready to go, and it's just we're not really that busy, but we're in between right now. We got grain to haul, but we got fertilizer to put on and lime to put on, so we're going to go. Lime's going to be the first priority, and I think we're going to go do some Friday actually. So anyway, we got to go wherever somebody gets a field opened up. So I think
next week's going to be busy.
It's going to
be harvest everywhere in full swing, and
Yep.
and fertilizer should be able to start taking place after the combines run a little bit and the lime. So
Yep.
it'll be in a busy week by the time this podcast comes out. Everybody's
Yep.
going to be busy. So.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully everybody has a safe harvest, and thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.